We shall now be pleased to hear from Ronald E. Pullman of the First Quorum of the 70.
My remarks this morning are directed primarily to those of you who have accepted the gospel and are members of the church, and to those of you who may be seriously contemplating such acceptance and membership. Both the gospel of Jesus Christ and the church of Jesus Christ are true and divine. However, there is a distinction between them which is significant, and it is very important that this distinction be understood.
And there is an essential relationship between them that is significant and very important.
The Lord wants all his children to partake of the eternal blessings available in his temple. He has directed what each person must do to qualify to enter his holy house. All requirements to enter the temple relate to personal holiness. To assess that readiness, each person who wants to enjoy the blessings of the temple will have 2 interviews. First, with a bishop, bishopric counselor, or branch president. Second, with a stake or mission president or one of his counselors. In those interviews, several questions will be asked. Some of those questions have recently been edited for clarity. I would like to review them for you now. Are you a full tithe payer?
Some permanent commandments have taken considerable time to be generally observed. For example, President Lorenzo Snow's famous sermon on the law of tithing emphasized a commandment given earlier but not yet generally observed by church members.
Tithe paying is evidence that we accept the law of sacrifice. It also prepares us for the law of consecration and the other higher laws of the celestial kingdom. President Lorenzo Snow taught that the law of tithing is one of the most important ever revealed to man. Faithful adherence to this law opens the windows of heaven for blessings temporal and spiritual. As a lifelong recipient of those blessings, I testify to the goodness of our God and his bounteous blessings to his children.
Brethren and sisters, we will now put you under covenant to obey and keep the law of sacrifice, as Jesus Christ has laid down his life for the redemption of mankind. So we should covenant to sacrifice all that we possess, even our own lives if necessary, in sustaining and defending the kingdom of God. Each of you bring your right arm to the square. You and each of you solemnly covenant and promise before God, angels, and these witnesses at this altar that you will observe and keep the law of sacrifice as contained in the Holy Scriptures as it has been explained to you. Each of you bow your head and say yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
We are instructed to give unto you the law of consecration, as contained in the book of Doctrine and Covenants, in connection with the law of the gospel and the law of sacrifice, which you have already received. It is that you do consecrate yourselves, your time, talents, and everything with which the Lord has blessed you, or with which he may bless you, to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, for the building up of the kingdom of God on the earth, and for the establishment of Zion. Each of you, bring your right arm to the square. You and each of you covenant and promise before God, angels, and these witnesses at this altar, that you do accept the law of consecration as contained in the Doctrine and Covenants, in that you do consecrate yourselves, your time, talents, and everything with which the Lord has blessed you, or with which he may bless you, to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, for the building up of the kingdom of God on the earth, and for the establishment of Zion. Each of you, bow your head and say yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
We should also be cautious about the motivation of the one who provides information. That's why the scriptures warn us against priestcraft.
One of our brethren some years ago spoke of the payment of tithing as fire insurance. Nonetheless, the word of the Lord is clear that those who do not keep the commandments and observe the laws of God shall be burned at the time of his coming.
The mandate given by the First Presidency and the presiding bishopric is to only focus on financial growth. EPA employees are told that the money will be used after the second coming of Jesus Christ or during Armageddon right before he would come again. Ensign Peak Advisors grows by $7 billion each year from capital gains, dividends, interest, etc., plus another $1 to $2 billion each year from excess tithing. All church operations consume between $5 and $6 billion per year of tithing. It is officially, finally true that the Mormon Church could tell every member in the world to completely stop paying tithing now and forever, and it could continue to fund every current program in full without drawing down on the reserves. In other words, Ensign Peak Advisors would continue to grow.
If there are any among this people who should ever apostatize, prepare your backs for a good whipping.
Can't have a temple recommend.
And I've been the good guy. I've been the good guy.
Travis Wayne Goodsell. In Castle yesterday, there was an episode in which a person who gave out loans to others and required payment back, or he roughed them up to remind them to pay it back, was being interrogated by Caitlin Beckett, and he said that he was given a donation, not the repayment of a loan, by the victim who had deceased at the beginning of the movie, or the show. Yeah, they love to change word meanings to get away with their crimes. ABC4 News Utah for Friday night continued the harrowing drama tale of a lawsuit that was filed jointly in April 2024 by a prosecutor representing 13 different Mormons and former Mormons who were arguing that the church's tithing and Ensign Peak advisors is being misused by the church. And so they're calling it fraud. And so the case was given to Judge Shelby, Robert Shelby, as I found out. And yes, Pharaoh did say no, if you saw that part of the video yesterday. I was denied. You can't touch us. But the website article, also by ABC4 News Utah, makes a major error in reporting. You need to understand that the news is having some problems lately. Is it ABC for George Stephanopoulos? Stephanopoulos? Can't pronounce his name. Who got sued by Trump for calling Trump's conviction of sexual assault a rape. A minor technicality, but one that a news reporter is not allowed to make. Then CNN just recently got busted for their making of a mistake. And so the news needs to be very careful about how they report the news. They can't lie. I mean, heaven forbid if Fox News should ever, lie, like say a voting machine for a presidential election, because the voting machine company might sue Fox News and Rupert Murdoch might have to quit and then get busted in the UK with Prince Andrew, or is it William? No, William. Andrew is the pedophile with Jeffrey Epstein. And so it's the one who married the American and the family's not happy with her. Scandal, scandal, scandal. And so the news has to be on top of their game. They're supposed to be educated, they're supposed to be degreed, they're supposed to be licensed to tell the truth. The news can't lie, except psychology got in and now they're lying. Listen to the article. See if you can find the major boo-boo by ABC4 News Utah, protecting the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Oops, that's another boo-boo. There's multiple boo-boos. Okay. Wasatch Front News, attorneys for LDS Church appear in federal court, seek to dismiss tithing fraud lawsuit. Another boo-boo. Did you catch it? Or did you go on vacation for those conferences? There's your clue. It's not the LDS Church. You gotta say the name Jesus. You gotta say the name Jesus. Repeat the name. And I am surprised that she's not wearing a ring on her finger. I am very surprised. Because she must be divorced. I can't imagine her not being married. Because definitely she can't be one of them, pronoun intended. Trump has done away with them. as he's on a full-on attack. But anyway. And so it's Kayla Baggerly and Trevor Myers. And this was posted 19 January 2025. So that's Sunday. What are you guys working on Sunday for? Yeah. What are you working on Sunday for? There's another boo-boo. Note, a lawsuit represents only one side of a story. But a news report represents one side of a story. Salt Lake City, ABC4, on Friday, January 14th. I understand it was over 3 hours and ended before 4:42 p.m. So says the Deseret News article on that day. Which, oh my God, that guy needs to be fired. Talk about your bias. For the Church of Jesus Christ, or attorneys for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. What's the problem with that? Probably haven't been watching my channel, so you don't know. We're not a church. We are not called the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The United States of America dissolved Brigham Young's Incorporated 1852 the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in 1887. Nobody reincorporated it. Sorry, we've been lied to. ABC4 News Utah, not doing their research, are lying. Do you see how damaging this is to lie about this? The church is not a church. The church is the corporation of the president. 26 November 1923, Heber J. Grant. And so if these people filed a lawsuit against the church, oops. But the church is misleading in the first place, misleading the court, the federal court. They're misleading the public, they're misleading world leaders, they're misleading world governments, claiming to be a church. We are not a church, not legally. It has never been reincorporated since Brigham Young's Incorporated 1852 got dissolved by the United States of America. This is how we know Brigham Young incorporated it in 1852, because of the United States dissolving it. They had to say which organizations they were dissolving and when they were incorporated. Where in a federal court seeking to strike a lawsuit challenging the organization's use of tithing donations. Oops. Another boo-boo. And she, as a Mormon, because I think you have to be Mormon, have a temple recommend to work at all of the news stations here in Utah. Which is why I'm surprised she's not married. That's another boo-boo in this church. She needs to get married and quit her job so that a man can do it. I'm very interested in what happened to the St. George anchor woman. St. George News anchor. She used to have a ring on her finger, and she would cover it up when talking about the news. She first used to flaunt it on the news, and then I noticed she started covering it up. And then after a few weeks, she then switched back, and I noticed there's no ring on the finger. And now she wears a ring on this finger, not on the ring finger. Very interesting. Very interesting. And so, are we looking at another apostate, anti-Mormon, antichrist, Korah Horus? Or Korah Hora, if we're going to use the Hebrew. Can also use Korah Horat, depending on which Masoretic group you're using. Which comes from the Egyptian. Tithing is not a donation. It never was. They use Section 119 for our tithing. Everybody knows this. They let us know this. They keep quoting from it. In Section 119, it even tells Mormons that it is the law. If it's the law to pay, it is not a donation. Why is this not being exposed? If these 13 Mormons and former Mormons are getting their lawyer, who apparently didn't do his research either, to tell the court that tithing is a donation, and then the church is stepping up to say tithing is a donation, and this is where the church then also, to manipulate the court decision, brought in a lawyer representing both evangelicals and Seventh-day Adventists. They don't have a law for tithing. For them, tithing is a donation. There's a huge difference between this organization and all other Christianity. None of Christianity does forced payment of tithing. Even the Catholics with their sale of indulgences, it wasn't forced, but if you want to burn in hell, it's up to you. There's a big difference. Why is this not being exposed? Why am I not being allowed to have a voice on this? It's very frustrating. And so, they keep making the boo-boo throughout the whole video clip that it's a donation, it's a donation, it's a donation, it's a donation, it's a donation. This is going to have staggering effects on all of Christianity. It's going to change the way people donate. People aren't going to donate anymore. The church still will. It's the law. The final verdict is pending. Now, it's going to be Friday, I bet. So that the Judge Robert Shelby can put it out right at the end of the day and then rush home to safety while it gets missed in the Friday night news dump, so that he can protect and defend with the law of sacrifice from criminal prosecution the organization that he himself is guilty of with donations. It's a donation. It's a donation. And so, Kayla Baggerly and Trevor Myers put in this lawsuit, the plaintiffs, a group of current or former members of the church. There's 13. It's current and former. God. Are challenging how church leaders have used tithing and other donations do you see what they're doing? They're telling you a lie, and they are repeating the lie over and over and over and over until you believe it. In the Latter-day Saint faith, see what they pulled there? They pulled a religious freedom card, right, Todd? This is a lawsuit. And ABC4 News Utah, even though the defense lawyers for Kirtland McConkie likewise used that to threaten Judge Shelby. First Amendment says that we can do whatever we want. Religious exemption. We are not subject to your civil court. Can I say that? Oh my God. But you have to go to the Salt Lake Tribune for that one. ABC News for Utah would not go that far. They just put in the Latter-day Saint faith. Many members of the religion, many, it's a law. Many members of the religion donate. To see again, tithing donation, tithing and other donations. Members of the religion donate 10% of their income to the church each year. This is perpetual, like the Perpetual Immigration Fund that was human and sex trafficking involving both adults and children. It's still being done. The church had it dissolved. The United States dissolved it. And the church still does it. A form of donation. Again, What the hell? This is a form of brainwashing, where you tell a lie until people accept the lie as truth. Section 119 says it's a law. It's not a donation, therefore. Not complicated. Referred to as paying tithing. So sad. You need to get yourself married, barefoot, pregnant, and in the kitchen doing try-on haul videos. Because your weather try-on haul videos, that's fun too. I'll keep getting those. Oh my God. And so yeah, it's expected that Friday he'll sneak it out. So notice where the moon is going to be then. I did today's video. The moon is getting judged. The scales of Libra. And then Friday, tomorrow, oopsies, it's judged. It's near new because it's entering into the sun. But Robert Shelby, I'm sure he will support and defend the church and the kingdom of Jesus. Repeat the name. To claim that because it's a donation, the church can do whatever they want. Religious exemption. Because the church already gave them the threats. And if you don't understand how the church has power over our federal courts, you missed Gaddy versus COP, in which Judge First allowed it to proceed. And then, wouldn't you know it, during her evaluation, that just happened to be going on at the same time, which she was getting flying, raving reviews, and then she allowed the case against the COP, Corporation of the President, to proceed. And then all of a sudden, oh no, we have found that way back in your history, you had a case with a person who was being charged for drug possession, no weapons involved, and you sent him to the drug court, which is what Utah created the drug court for. And that person who went through the drug court by a different judge was released. And upon being released, he obtained a gun and shot a cop. So we're going to have to fire you for being responsible. The first female magistrate judge in the Utah federal courts fired. Obviously, it had nothing to do with allowing Gaddy versus COP to proceed, for which eventually Pharaoh said no to that one too. They lasted longer than I did because they had a lawyer. Was it Kate? She published one book and thinks she's an authority on church history. God. No. And so, yes, Judge Robert Shelby has likewise been threatened as a Chief Justice for the Federal Court of Utah by the lawyers, the fixers, for Kirtland McConkie of the Corporation of the President. Exact same patterns. That's why they don't want you to watch The Godfather. Don't watch R-rated movies. You'll find out that we're exactly the same as the antagonists. Don't do it. Don't do it. don't do it. So, yeah, I could stop there and make this the video and not go on to gospel versus church and explain the chronological ordering of history so that you don't overlap them and replace them. I mean, I could still do another video. I mean, we have until Easter now, when Oaks is now giving us the next death threat. Since Trump is slow to do what he wanted to do. But that's on purpose, by the way. Oaks ordered him to do that. And that's why there's no fear in schools, in churches, at any of the church's work sites for doing what Trump ordered to be done. The church is behind it. Oaks, former prosecutor and Supreme Court Justice for Utah. He confessed, got leaked by a mission president and then by a little sister missionary. Jessica rules. Are you married yet, Jessica? Are you married? Are you a naughty girl? I don't understand why she's not finding my videos with her picture. Jessica, come on. I'm making you famous. So, Elder Pullman, we'll just go over it briefly. I mean, we're not even at 30 minutes yet. Elder Pullman, I want to put this clip in, so we got to figure out a way to put it in. Came out with the gospel versus the church and said that they were different. They're not the same. Even though they're both true, they're not the same. Despite this, in 1984, which would have therefore been Kimball, who was on his deathbed for years, ordered him to redo it that week. So they had a full camera crew, Salt Lake Tribune, Peggy Fletcher Stack, I think, might have been the one who exposed us, who was the one who did the, I don't think she did the article on the K lawsuit, but anyway, she did the one on BYU recently, how the teachers are in fear for their life with Gilbert, who again is being promoted in the church news. His Nazi agenda. He's been promoted to become the next apostle, in case you didn't know. Nelson's on his deathbed, and so they're grooming him to be the next apostle. You watch and be horrified. And so the camera crew got there at the tabernacle. Remember, it's not the conference center. Why is it not the conference center where they re-filmed conference? Again, remember, you got to know your history, when chronology occurred, when things came into existence. Conference center was under Hinckley for 2000. That's when that began. And so anything before that, you cannot say that it was held at a conference center. You have to say in the tabernacle, unless there is a certain exception that may have occurred. But you'd have to know your research on that to find out if there was an exception. You know, like Brigham Young in the Valley. Did he give his first conference in a tabernacle? No. So now you have to know when the tabernacle was created. These are kind of important to know, especially for religion, when religion tries to lie to you. And so in that October 1984 conference, in the tabernacle, he had to redo it. And so they darkened the background for the VHS tapes that they would sell as merchandise. And then eventually on the DVDs when they would upgrade them. And they originally had it on their website, but after I exposed it again, it was taken down. That's why it is important to get this evidence, because otherwise Mormons will say, I don't see it here. Yeah, count the number of minutes. Yeah, there's a 15-minute time frame missing. It's actually 10. Back in those days, 70 were allowed 10 minutes. Apostles were given 15, and the president was given 20. It was a pattern that had occurred back then. And now that's somewhat changed. As you watch the apostles, it varies between 12 to 16, something like that. But regardless, not too important. But yeah, there's a whole talk missing from that October conference now because of the scandal that it involved. The church demands that everybody accept that they are authoritative, one and the same. That they are the true succession from Joseph Smith, and therefore the church is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But remember, the United States of America exposed with the dissolution of it as being incorporated in 1852. When did Joseph die? 1844, 8 years previous. And so if Brigham Young is the true successor, then he doesn't need to incorporate the church with the name. But he did, because he didn't. Mormons cannot live in denial of this. The news needs to be reporting the truth. Mormons cannot get upset with me for this. I have not said anything anti-falsehood against the church. These are factual information. The church is lying to us. And this is a big lie. This is not the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It is the corporation of the president. They have no religious authority. They are not the succession of Joseph Smith. And yet, they repeat the lie. And there are even some boo-boos in Wikipedia perpetuating this lie, repeating the lie over and over to get people to accept and believe it and spread it. This is malicious. This is worse than Trump doing his whole Stargate AI system. And I warned you, I told you, the first time ever AI was used as a program in the voting machines. And now Trump is promoting AI? I told you so. All because of Oaks. I warned my federal government, they did not listen, they let it happen. We are all doomed. And so this is not the right number of conferences. You see how they throw in all the different lies to support the big lie that we're a fraud. Wrong number of conferences, wrong name of the church, wrong gospel, wrong succession, all to support the lie, to get everybody to believe it. It's all a lie. None of it is true. And so, you cannot say that Brigham Young incorporating the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in 1852 is therefore a succession of Joseph Smith's Church of Christ of 6 April 1830, or of his renaming by unanimous vote in 1834 to the Church of the Latter-day Saints. So now when you go to the first vision in the Joseph Smith papers, you see that Willard Richards put in Jesus Christ in the name of verse 1, and thus exposing who the evil disposed and designing militant persons are. And then you'll notice that section 115 being a forged document, what was the date? Before the first vision was written? Oops. And then now you understand why Joseph does not say the name Jesus who appeared to him. Real simple stuff. This church has lied to you. And so when you do it with your Bible, let's go over the chronology for you. The Jews were pre-1500 BCE on Mount Salem. Christians were created in 325 CE at the Council of Nicaea. Created. And so therefore Christianity did not exist before. This is not complicated. The Jewish scriptures were written from 100 to 200 CE. 100 BCE to 200 CE. That was the time frame. They were not written before. Do not create the documentary hypothesis to claim that they were. Use the evidence. And so the Bible was composed by Christians, the Latin Vulgate and the Septuagint, by Christians. Around 400 CE, almost 100 years after the creation of Christianity. Then the Jews, the Masoretes that I told you about, did their biblical Hebrew text from 800 to 1000 CE. That's why Elohim is singular. Joseph Smith was right. God, it is disgusting that Mormons do not believe Joseph Smith, and so they perpetuate the lie to lie about Joseph. And so this is why I was kicked out of the church, and threatened technically, like Avraham Gileadi. The bishop in West Valley City was told by the Strengthening Church Members Committee that Travis did a video about how the Book of Mormon is going against the prophets. Which was going to be a title of this video, Book of Mormon Goes Against the Living Prophets of Jesus. Because Section 132 violates the Book of Mormon, Section 119 violates the Book of Mormon. Section 115 technically violates the Book of Mormon. of Mormon. That's how you know them, as forgeries. And so he cornered me, as there was also an effort to have my wife at the time leave me, which was successful. And so yeah, I'm a naughty boy too. I don't do try-on haul videos. This is all you're gonna get. I'm insecure. Women are not to be insecure. It is a law. Do a try-on haul video. That is a law. Law. And he told me about the video and I needed to take it down. Excuse me? It's about how the Book of Mormon is true. And he's telling me to take it down because it goes against the prophets. Well, if the prophets are going against the Book of Mormon, the prophets aren't true. And so he says, why do you bother coming to church if you're going to go against the prophets with the Book of Mormon being true? Good point. Bye. And so I will never go back, because I was doing research at the time on the Carthage jail assassination. I found out what happened, and I do a tribute video every year on the Remembrance Day of his assassination. So, there you have it. This is not complicated to do research, but the church lies and makes it complicated on purpose, maliciously on purpose. So, expect the church to get away with her crimes yet again.